Welcome to the Word for 2022. Today we're in 1 Kings chapter 12. Solomon has died. The nation will be divided into two kingdoms. 10 tribes will form the northern kingdom. 2 tribes will form the southern kingdom. The northern kingdom will be called Israel. The southern kingdom will be called Judah. Jeroboam will be the king of the 10 northern tribes. And Rehoboam, Solomon's son, he will be the king of the 2 southern tribes. Now, how did this split take place? As you read this chapter, it all unfolds before you. Solomon was a tax and spend politician. In other words, he put heavy taxes upon the people, heavy burdens, and price for him was never an object. And he used people to do what he wanted done. He used people for his desires. Now that he is dead, the new king would be seen as Rehoboam, his son. So, all the people and Jeroboam, they come before Rehoboam. And this is what they say to him in verse 4. Your father put a heavy yoke on us, but now lighten the harsh labor and the heavy yoke he put on us, and we will serve you. Now Rehoboam at this point did a good thing. He said to the people, I will give you my answer in 3 days. He wanted to get advice. So during those 3 days, this is what he did. He called the elders together and he said, what do you think I should do? And this was the advice that the elders gave. They said, listen to the people. If you serve them, they will follow you always. But then he turned and he looked at the men that he grew up with. They were young men. And he said, what do you think I should do? They gave him completely different advice. This is what they said to Rehoboam. You are in charge now. And who do they think they are? You are the one that's in charge. Therefore, they owe you. They are to serve you. You need to put them in their place. What is theirs, it's yours. So you should be able to take whatever you want. Unfortunately, Rehoboam, he listened to the young men and their advice, and he rejected what the elders had said. This was Rehoboam's response. He said in verse 10, you want the burden lifted? Well, my little finger is thicker than my father's waist. My father laid a heavy burden on you. I will make it even heavier. My father scourged you with whips. I will scourge you with scorpions. In essence, what Rehoboam was telling the people was, I will do what I want and there is nothing that you can do about it, and you will obey me. When the people heard Rehoboam's harsh reply and his oppressive threats, this is what they did. They revolted against him as their king. They rejected him as the one that will be in charge of them. They refused to follow. They refused to comply. They were not going to respect him in any way. When Rehoboam tried to force them, the people, they retaliated and they stood together and they rebelled. And when that took place, they left him. 10 tribes of the north, they left and they made Jeroboam their king. But 2 tribes in the south, they made Rehoboam their king and they followed after him. Then Rehoboam became very angry and he wanted to attack the 10 northern tribes. But God intervened and he told the people to stand down. Go home, for this is my will. So many parallels can be made as we read this chapter. When you look at politics then and politics today, so many parallels can be seen. Also, there are many leadership lessons that we can glean from this chapter. I just noted 4 that I'd like to share with you right now. The first is be careful who you listen to. The elders, they had life experience and they cared about the people. They were people-centered. They gave good advice. But the young men that didn't have as much life experience, they were self-centered. And what did they do? They encouraged Rehoboam to simply follow his agenda and his ego. So be careful who you listen to. The second is if you really care about people, you need to listen to their needs. That's good advice for anyone, particularly our leaders today. We need to put the nation first and not agendas or egos. And then the third is that when people are pushed, they will only put up with it for so long and then they will revolt. We see that all around the world today. But the fourth thing is that God is in control. In the midst of chaos and confusion and conflict, we need to remember that God will always allow free will to play out. He'll let people do what they want to do for a time, but He is still in control, and His plans will always prevail. Thank you for joining the Word for 2022.